Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to touch on the next new launch on this October new launch series. And this is perhaps one of the most anticipated one because of the location. Let's dive straight into it. Alright, so here we have Skye on Holland. Now why I chose this as the next installment, because we finally got more details of this project in terms of the land size, the floor plan, right? So I can go into more details over here, okay? So for Skye on Holland, let's dive straight into some of the parameters. Okay, so you can see it is actually right over here, right beside actually a pretty new launch One Holland Village residence, and of course it's very near the very popular mall One Holland Village. Okay, and of course it is walking distance to Holland V MRT station. And the prime location, while it is very central, one thing to take note of is that if you were to search for 1 kilometer, it is very likely that you will not see any schools. Okay, so for those of you who are buying this for school, just take note the good schools, right? Like for example, Nanyang Primary, Fairfield, Henry Park, all these popular schools are actually outside of 1 kilometers. Now next, in terms of developer, I think this is quite strong because it is combining some of the best developers in Singapore. We have UOL, Singland, King Leong, and CapitaLand combining hands together to build this development. Now to see whether Skye at Holland is worth buying, worth investing, what we want to do is to check out the neighbours. Okay, so you can see for Holland area, there's quite a few of them. For example, definitely beside it, there's One Holland Village, right? And there's one of the newer condo here, Van Holland. Then, if you move a bit further, right, you can see there's Leiden Green, there's Hugh on Holland, there's Leiden Residences, and of course, the big boy, the biggest estate in the area, the Leiden. Okay, so how well did they do and what can we find out from this transaction? So number one, you can see at Holland Village Residences, currently in terms of resale transaction, we don't have much. We only have one in February, and this was transacted in 3,781. Will this be a reflective number? It is hard to tell because it's only one transaction so far, but at least it sets a bit of a guide, right, for what Skye Holland could potentially transact at in the future. But other than One Holland Village residents, actually if you look at other condos nearby, majority of them are freehold projects. So this is perhaps one of the issues that I would see for Skye Holland, is that there will be a lot of comparison, right, about the freehold projects nearby and how is this stacked up in terms of value. So I think a good comparison would not be the other freehold projects that they are pretty old, but I want to look at something that are newer. Okay, so over here you can see some of the newer projects here are right here, the Leiden Residence and Leiden Green. Okay, so let's go through them one by one. Now, in terms of Leiden Green, okay, over here you can see these are the past transactions. 2-bedder generally transact about 2,600 to 2,800 PSF, 3-bedder about 2,900, and then 4-bedder there is a jump, right? So people are really paying for the premium of getting a 4-bedder big size, right? So the average transacted range between 3,200 about 3,400. This is a freehold project, very new, just completed in 2023, and it's a very good size, 638 units. And you can see here, based on the past transaction, the profitability is quite decent as well, right? Especially for the 3 and 4 bedders. Now let's look at the other unit nearby, that is Leiden Residence. Now this one, just take note that all the PSF mentioned here may look on the lower end of the spectrum because these are very large size units, right? You can see over here the 2-bedder is already 1,000 square feet, right? 3-bedder goes into 2,000 square feet. So it is not an exact apple to apple comparison, but we still want to check out how are they doing, right? So 2-bedder about 2,007, 3-bedder around there as well, and 4-bedder ranging to about 2,800 PSF. And you can see over here, generally the prices are significantly higher. 2-bedder coming up to about 3 million, whereas 3-bedder sometimes go as high as like 5 million, 6 million, and 4-bedder going above that, right? So quite big size unit, relatively lower PSF, but in terms of profitability, you can see that so far there are 66 profitable transactions and only 7 they are not profitable. And if we look at the profitability over here, very good profits regardless of the sizes. And let's check out the unprofitable transaction. So you can see all these unprofitable transactions are actually not done recently. They were sold, right? Perhaps during COVID season where there was a dumping. But otherwise, if you look at recent transaction under the profitable sale, all of them have made a good profit. Alright, next one is finally not a freehold project, but it is a 99-year, same comparison with Skye at Holland, and that is Deleden, okay? So Deleden, the 2-bedder is about 2,000 per square foot, 3-bedder ranging to 2,000 to 2,200, 4-bedder slightly lesser, about 1,009 to about 2,100 per square foot. And once again, the units here are also slightly larger, right? So you can see the 2-bedders here are about 786 square feet, okay? 3-bedders, some of them go as high as 1,700, but generally most of them are 1,400 to 1,200 PSF. I would say one benefit that Deleden has over perhaps Skye at Holland is 1 kilometer to Nanyang Primary School, okay? So for those of you who are buying from school, this would perhaps be another option that you can consider, right? This is a 99-year project completed in 2014. So later on, we'll do a price comparison on that. Now, if we look at Deleden profitable sale, out of the 417 transactions, 379 of them were profitable. So majority of the units sold here are profitable. But I would say the returns are quite varied, right? Some of them did really well. For example, some of the 3-bedders here did about 1/million, right? Whereas some of the projects here, 2-bedder only barely made 180k. So what do I see as the main difference here is that generally try to go for larger size unit over here, and you can see many of the recent transactions, for example, bought in 2021, made annualized return about 3.3%, and those 2018 did about 4.5% here. So it does tell you that the timing does matters, right? So in the very beginning, those who bought Deleden may not make as much, but recently the profitability has started to return. Okay, 16 unprofitable transaction. If we look at it, once again, none of them are recent transaction. Many of them were sold right earlier on in 2022 and 2023. So once again, it speaks to the strength of Deleden in recent years. Alright, so next up, we're going to look at another freehold project very near to Skye at Holland, and that is Van Holland over here. This is quite a small project. Only 69 units freehold, completed just last year, 2024, and we can see right here 69 of them. So far we haven't had any resale transaction, but one thing that we can take note of is that the recent transaction, even for the 2-bedders, already reaching 3,000 PSF, right? And as far back as 2023, actually some of the projects here are already at 2,700 per square foot. Okay, so over here, I compiled the completed years, average PSF, and the price, and put down some remarks, right? So as a comparison over here. So one thing you can see is that definitely Deleden has the lowest per square foot, right? But the price actually is not the cheapest because of the larger size unit. Whereas Leden Green, one of the latest new launch, the PSF, while is high, but actually the quantum is very similar to Deleden as well. So here comes the question, how much would the developer price Skye at Holland? Now, the break-even based on the calculation is around 2,200 PSF, but it will be crazy wish if they price at this level. So definitely not going to be 2,200. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take reference to recent new launch transactions. So I think developer might use this as a reference point, right? So if we look at River Green, okay, which is originally known as River Green Parcel A, it was 2,200 plus as the break-even as well. And when it was sold, the average is around 3,130 per square foot. Next up, it is actually Promenade Peak, also formerly known as Zion Road Parcel B. Very similar break-even price, and on average, the premium unit actually reached about 3,300 PSF, okay? Whereas the general unit went for 2,900 per square foot. We also have one more parcel recently at Holland Link, right, where the bid price is actually higher than Skye at Holland, so therefore the break-even price is actually 200 PSF more. So that also makes Skye at Holland potentially more attractive because very likely this project will be listed at a slightly higher price. So looking at this, how much will they price Skye at Holland? My personal guess is that they will start at around 2,800 per square foot, factoring the post-harmonization. And when they start selling, I think the average price will be around 3,000 PSF, and that would translate to around 3,100, 3,200 if you consider the post-harmonization. Now, if we compare these to the Liden, right, where the average per square foot is about 2,100 per square foot, and if we just add, in terms of the years of difference, because by the time it is completed, it's going to be 2029, right? So if we take a lower estimate of about 50 per square foot per year difference, okay, then a fair value for Skye Holland will be around 2,800, okay? And if we take $75 per square foot per year, then the average will be around 3,150. Now, take note, these are actually pre-harmonization prices. So if we were to take into consideration of harmonization where you add on another 5% in terms of per square foot, this will be closer to 3,000 per square foot, right? If it's $50 per year. And if we look at this one, will be closer to 3,300 per square foot if we took it at $75 per year. Next, let's look at the site plan. One thing that stood out to me is that there is no tennis court, which actually caught me by surprise given the demographics of Holland Village. I thought that the developer would put a tennis court here for the tenants, right, if they're renting the place. But I guess one of the main reasons is the compact land size, so there isn't much space for them to put a tennis court. And thankfully, one Holland Village resident seems like they don't have a tennis court as well, so I guess there won't be a comparison here. Now, one thing that puts Skye Holland slightly better is that they have two separate pools, right? So they have a 50-meter pool here, and then they kind of have like a leisure kids pool over here as well. So that kind of separates it, and that makes it very useful, right, for those people who are renting it out, because that will attract the tenants a bit better. But otherwise, site plans wise, I think nothing to shout for. 2 blocks, right? Quite a compact land size, no tennis court. I wish the developer, instead of just omitting the tennis court totally, my idea to the developer would be, why not put in a pickleball court, right? Since it is up and coming right now. Okay, so one thing about Skye Holland is that you will get what I call the permanent view. Okay, what is permanent view? Is that if you were to look towards this direction, actually, these are all bungalows, landed property. So very unlikely that any development will happen in this area and block your view in the future. And if you're facing more towards the southeast direction over here, good thing to know that the One Holland Village over here is about 7 to 8 stories. So if you're staying above that, you are likely going to got pretty good view as well, because beyond that is generally going to be landed property as well. Now let's move into bedroom types. You can see over here the developer really split the bedroom types 50-50, right? So 50% is the 2-bedders here, whereas the other 50% are the 3, 4 and 5 bedders. Total 666 units. Not quite sure how I feel about the numbers, but for those of you who are superstitious, this is something you want to take note of. Now let's go into the unit floor plan. So let's start with the 2-bed premium. This is at 678 square feet. Now, generally, I love the layout. Dumbbell layout generally are very efficient. The only thing I would say is that there's still this walkway that's a bit wasted. You can't really do anything with that. But the good news is that you do get an enclosed kitchen here. Although it doesn't come with a window, but an enclosed kitchen for a 2-bedder, I think that's a pretty good deal. Okay, based on my estimate PSF, then this will be listing at about $2 million on average. Next one, they have a slightly bigger one that is the 2+ study that stands at 732 square feet. My average price for this will be 2.13 million. Layout wise, very similar to the 2 premium. The only thing is that you get an extra study room over here. And interestingly, the study room is not by the master bathroom where it usually used to be. This time around is actually beside the master bedroom. So actually, if you don't need this study, what you can do to it is you can convert it into a walk-in wardrobe or something of that kind, okay? Right? But the only downside I see of that is if you really convert this into a walk-in wardrobe, then the light into the room will be quite limited, okay? Because this is where the window is, right? Then therefore, the master bedroom may not have a window access for sunlight in this case. But otherwise, 2.13 million. Next one, 3-bedder. 3-bedder, nowadays, the size is very standard. It tends to be 915 square feet, okay? Layout-wise, I think nothing to shout about. Quite a standard L-shaped layout. Enclosed kitchen, without yard, without utility room. You do get a notch over here, right, for the feng shui people. Average price about 2.7 million. Next one, slightly bigger, 3-bed premium. This is for those who want not just a kitchen, but you want a bomb shelter, you want a yard, you want an extra toilet. This is for you. Actually, I personally like this layout a little bit better. There's less wasted space. but the average price will come closer to about 3.2 million. Next one, 4-bedder, standing at 1,238 square feet. Very good layout. This will be a private lift lobby layout, right? And it seems like the private lift lobby wall here can potentially be taken down in order for you to enlarge your living area space. But otherwise, you get everything standard, 4 rooms. The only downside is that I think the toilet is not enough, right? Because master bedroom, yes, you have your master bath, but the 3 other bedrooms will kind of have to compete for this 1 bathroom, right? So that's not ideal. Otherwise, there is a kitchen toilet right over here. Okay, average listed price, my estimate is around 3.7 million. All right, next one is the giant of the development, and these are the 5-bedders. Okay, it comes in at a whopping 1,765 square feet, and in this case, you have a lot of rooms, you have sufficient toilet, right? So in fact, you have 1 master bedroom over here, and you have a junior master suite, and bedroom 3, bedroom 4 will be sharing 1 toilet here, and then you have an extra bedroom here as well, right? Once again, private lift landing, you have a very extensive kitchen, yard area, bomb shelter, right? So this is very, very spacious, but based on the size, and if I look at close to 3,000 per square foot, this is going to come in close to $5.3 million on average. Now, in terms of price comparison, I'm comparing with the 3-bedders of the other development, and I would say the 3-bedder pricing at Skye Holland, if the average is around 2.7 million to 3.2, which is the 3-bed premium, I think it's quite attractive, because if you compare it to Leiden Green, okay, then it is about the same quantum, right? So basically, you are not paying too extravagant for it, right? You're not paying outsized price. And the exchange is that, yes, you don't get the freehold status, but you get a lot more convenience, right, for Skye Holland in this case. Another point to take note is that most of the 3-bedders here in the region, because of either it is freehold or like the Leiden, while it's 99-year lease, it is a large size unit. So therefore, most of the prices are going to be above 3 million from here on. So therefore, if you can get a 3-bedder at Skye Holland at less than 3 million, from a quantum perspective, it looks pretty nice. Okay, but of course, in terms of PSF, it is a premium over the Leiden. Alright, so all in all, I think Skye Holland is a very good project because of the proximity to Holland V area, accessibility to the One Holland Village Mall, but one of the drawbacks is, of course, the lack of access to 1 km for primary school. But I think it is fine because likelihood the investors here may not be staying and they are renting it out to expats, so school may not be a factor for them. But one thing I'm definitely looking out for is the launch price. My prediction is that average going to be about 3,000 per square foot. I think anything below that might be still solid, given that this is an after harmonization. So if you do a like-for-like comparison, it is more likely at 3,000 per square foot, it's going to translate to around 2008, 2009, right? So I think that is still pretty decent. And with the fact that, you know, Van Holland is already selling at 2,700, 2,800 back then, and with Holland Village, One Holland Village residents selling recently at 3,700, this could give the buyers of Skye Holland a certain buffer in terms of investment value. Alright, so that's my analysis for Skye Holland. What do you think, right? And would this be one of the best new launches again? Let's see. Alright, if not, I'll see you at the next video when I analyze another new launch of this October new launch series.